Dajang arrived at the basketball game where Daeyoung and Shivu were playing. As she watched the match unfold, her eyes kept drifting back to Daeyoung, drawn to him in a way she couldn't explain. After the final whistle, he came over and knelt down to tie her shoelace, a simple, tender gesture that stirred memories of the boy she once knew. When he stood and walked away, Dajang's gaze caught the name across the back of his jersey, Go Woo-young. The sight struck her like a quiet reminder that he wasn't the person she thought he was. Or at least, that's what she believed. Dajang ran into Ilkwon, who smirked with a hint of cruelty. Good thing you got to see Shivu's last basketball game, he sneered. Because I won't let him play again, all because you refused to show gratitude. By that, he meant she wouldn't pay bribe. He gave her one last chance before the next game, then walked off, leaving Dajang speechless at his shamelessness. Later at work, Dajang spoke with the only male intern, Kitai, who hosted a show focusing on shocking and dramatic news. She cautiously asked if he'd be interested in a story about bribery in college admissions. He nodded, but added, as long as there's proof and people willing to testify. Meanwhile, Dukjin returned to Ilkwon's bar and asked to see the owner, calling him by name. The bartender said he wasn't there, which only confirmed her suspicion that Ilkwon really did own the place. At the same time, Ilkwon was drinking with his old college coach friends, confidently telling them he'd soon be joining their ranks. But the news they delivered was crushing: someone else had gotten the job. Ilkwon couldn't hide his disappointment. Just then, Mr. Bang, the father of one of the basketball players, arrived to join them, but the coaches quickly decided to leave, saying they'd meet another time. Outside, Daeyoung spotted Ilkwon talking to the group about helping him secure a position at a college. Without hesitation, Daeyoung called Ilkwon and told him he had heard everything, that Ilkwon was ruining the sport he loved, all just to make money off students. Ilkwon shot back angrily, explaining that he had spent all of high school and college giving money to coaches, constantly fearing he'd get kicked out. Daeyoung's reply was firm: this was exactly why Ilkwon shouldn't be repeating the same mistakes now. But Ilkwon snapped, insisting that despite it all, he was still living better than Daeyoung, and then abruptly hung up. After trying and failing to reach Mr. Ban, Dajang received a text that looked like it was from Dukjin, but it was actually sent by Daeyoung and Aerin, who had borrowed Dukjin's phone. The message asked if she wanted to meet with the other team parents. When she expressed concern they wouldn't show, the reply was confident: there's always a way. Soon after, Daeyoung and Aerin sent a group message to all the team parents, inviting them to a meeting to discuss Ilkwon's corruption. They warned that anyone who failed to attend would be seen as an accomplice and could face a lawsuit. They dragged Dukjin to the meeting despite his protests, promising him it would make him look like a hero to teacher OK. The meeting took place where all the parents were gathered, including Jasuk's father. Dukjin spoke up, revealing that he had once been a member of the Sareem basketball team himself, and that he was the one who taught his son everything he knows. Nearby, Daeyoung and teacher OK watched quietly, and Daeyoung told her it was true, wearing the most pained smile on his face. Dukjin continued, explaining how the coach back then had demanded money, but his own parents refused to pay because they believed in him. He added that Ilkwon hadn't always been a bad person. The scene flashed back 18 years, showing a young Ilkwon watching his father hand over money to the coach to secure a spot in the starting lineup, while noticing Dukjin watching. Ilkwon threatened Dukjin not to tell anyone what he had seen, then began taking money from him and bullying him, a pattern that has continued to this day. Turning to the parents, Dukjin asked if they wanted to raise their children to be like Ilkwon. Most quietly agreed that he was right. Jasak's father and Mr. Bang argued that if they testified, both they and their children would suffer, instilling fear among the other parents. Dajang challenged them, asking if any would be proud to tell their child they had paid for their spot on the team. She pressed on, asking how their kids would feel if they knew, reminding Jasak's father of the time his son yelled that he was ashamed of him. Though the parents remained worried about stirring a scandal just before playoffs, Dajang declared she would report the story to a current affairs program and work to get the investigation moving faster. She collected details about how much money the parents paid Ilkwon and the college coaches, then handed the information over to Kitai. On camera, Kitai confronted the Hankook coach about taking bribes, but the coach flatly denied it. Afterward, the coach called Ilkwon, complaining that JBC had come to his campus. By this point, Ilkwon knew Dajang was behind the investigation. So when she texted him to come to the school, he was angry, but agreed to show up. Dajang waited alone and didn't stop him when Ilkwon grabbed her purse and emptied it, checking to make sure she wasn't recording anything. She told him he would be exposed for taking bribes from parents and paying college coaches, urging him to turn himself in. Ilkwon laughed, saying he never promised anyone that their kids would play in important games or get into certain colleges. Instead, he claimed the parents brought him money because they didn't trust their kids' talent. He warned that if he got caught, he'd say Dajang had paid him too, but in ways that didn't involve money. Dajang told him he had wasted his last chance, and he raised his hand to hit her. Suddenly, Dukjin burst in, ready to fight. He asked Ilkwon when he would grow up. Ilkwon punched Dukjin hard enough to knock him down. When Dajang tried to intervene, he shoved her down as well and began beating Dukjin violently. A loud voice shouted at Ilkwon to stop. It was Jasak's dad. He declared that he planned to testify against Ilkwon. When Ilkwon tried to blame Dajang and Dukjin for everything, the other parents stepped out from where they'd been watching and stood together to support them. The parents still weren't convinced, even after everything Dajang and Dukjin had said. So Dajang arranged to show them who Ilkwon really was. Ilkwon kept desperately making excuses and threats. He vowed to sue them all for defamation and promised to make sure their sons would never play basketball again. Dajang snapped sharply at Ilkwon, urging him to come to his senses and admit his crimes. But her words only fueled his anger. He advanced aggressively, pulling back a fist to punch her. She reacted instantly, grabbing his wrist, flipping him over, and kneeling firmly on his back. Aiden urgently led the cops in, and Ilkwon's eyes flickered with brief hope since he was the one pinned down. But Dukjin yelled out, insisting Dajang was defending him, and all the parents nodded in agreement, confirming what they had seen. The cops led Ilkwon away. In the lobby, their eyes met, Ilkwon and Dayang. Ilkwon remembered the bitter days of bullying Dukjin in high school and how Dayang would always step in to protect him. One day, he had seen the coach trying to pressure Dayang's father to pay a bribe, and for a fleeting moment, he felt a cruel satisfaction that Dayang also had to pay to play. But then Dayang's father had refused firmly and threatened to expose the injustice if Dayang wasn't played because of it. Kitai broke the story of Ilkwon's corruption and assault of a parent, revealing that he and the college coaches were sentenced to jail. The parents remained in trouble for paying bribes, but out of respect for their testimony, they only received probation. Ilkwon's father visited him in jail and told him he was always a disappointment. Ilkwon asked if he ever believed in him, and his father yelled that he would have, if Ilkwon had ever made him proud. Ilkwon spat bitterly that his father was the reason he ended up where he was, but his father just growled, "You're a failure." The school principal gathered the parents and offered a sincere apology for what had happened. He introduced a new coach and a parent representative who would help bring positive changes, and Dukjin was chosen as the representative. He handed the new coach a petition signed by the parents, promising they wouldn't pay any money to him. The new coach seemed genuine and trustworthy. After the meeting, Jasak asked his father if he was okay after the police questioning. His father said he was fine and that his company wouldn't suffer from this. Then, with a smile, he added that Jasak was on his own now. Teacher OK found Dukjin and told him she had seen everything and that he was very cool today. She thanked him for what he'd done and said she'd see him around, which gave him the courage to ask her to coffee, and she accepted. In the biggest surprise of all, Jasak quietly apologized to Shivu for bullying him. He admitted that seeing his dad hit him had wounded his pride, and so he unfairly took his anger out on Shivu. Later, Dajang went to a cafe and ran into Jinchul, Dayang's friend from his appliance repair job. They caught up for a few minutes before Jinchul asked how Dayang was doing, mentioning that he hadn't gotten the promotion, had hit his boss, and got fired. This news shocked Dajang, who still believed Dayang was away on a work trip to Busan. Dayang had dinner with his dad, who still treated him like a child. Gently, Dayang reminded him that despite his youthful looks, he had grown up now. As they talked, they overheard a mother complaining about raising two kids while her husband spilled food on his shirt. Dad mentioned that Dayang's mother used to say the same thing, and Dayang admitted Dajang often made that complaint as well. Dad sighs, expressing sympathy for Dajang, who has been taking care of the kids, the house, and him, until recently, when things started to change. Later, from across the street, Dayang watches Dajang walk home from the bus stop, his gaze softening as he sees her in a new light once again. Distracted, Dajang nearly walks into him while crossing the street, so he walks with her the rest of the way. Shia joins the group, and Dayang gives his usual excuse that he came to see Shivu. Shia complains about an upcoming school festival, but both Dayang and Dajang tell her it will be a good memory later. Shia asks if Dajang has a good memory of her school festival, and Dajang says it wasn't that memorable, which makes Dayang's expression falter, a hint of sadness flickering across his face. The next day, Shia and Bobe volunteer for the festival's photo exhibit, and Jiho also volunteers so he can do it with Shia. Jasak starts to raise his hand, but his friend stops him, giving Dayang a chance to chime in and steal Jasak's spot. While going through old photos, Shia drops a heavy box on her face. Dayang tries to get a closer look, but Jiho grabs his hand and growls, "Don't touch her." After Shia and Bobe leave the room, Dayang asks Jiho if he likes Shia. Jiho replies only that it's none of Dayang's business, but the glance he gives speaks volumes, a protective, teenage reticence that Dayang recognizes all too well. Dayang chuckles to himself, thinking Jiho is all grown up and that his crush is adorable, then yells that no man can touch his Shia. He's still grumbling when Jasak joins him, salty that Dayang stole his spot on the photo team. Jasak asks Dayang if he likes Shia as a woman, making Dayang yelp that that's disgusting. Jasag admits he does like her that way and warns Daeyoung off, "Xia is mine." Feeling very protective, Daeyoung imagines himself aiming a gun at Jasag. But instead, all he does is point his finger sharply, and Jasag, unimpressed, tells him not to let the other kids find out. After Jasag leaves, Daeyoung promises himself that he will protect his daughter no matter what. After school, Jiho comes to Xia's workplace looking nervous. He seems like he is about to say something important, but then Jasag suddenly appears and gives Xia the cutest shy smile behind Jiho's back. Jasag buys 2 drinks and looks very happy when Xia asks about the new coach. He leaves one of the drinks for Xia, but Jiho takes it and drinks it instead. Just then, Daeyoung arrives exactly on time and looks angrily at the 2 boys who want to be close to his daughter. He says he will walk Xia home. The 3 boys stand there staring angrily at each other until Xia comes out. The poor girl looks very confused. Daeyoung wins by saying that her father sent him, and Jiho and Jasag both say bad words about him together. While they walk, Daeyoung asks Xia what she thinks about those 2 boys. She says he is crazy. She has been friends with Jiho for a long time, and she is still angry at Jasag for bullying Shivu. Daeyoung stops Xia from taking a dangerous shortcut and gives her an alarm to carry, telling her it is from her dad. Dajang meets them just outside their house, and Daeyoung watches as the 2 go inside. Not far away, someone takes pictures of Daeyoung as he turns to leave. Putting all the taken pictures on the wall and write a new report about where Daeyoung has been. It is being conveyed that the plan will take place tomorrow. Kitai calls the other interns into a conference room and tells them that only 3 of them will be hired after their probation period ends. Wajumi acts like she didn't already know this, but when the others decide to talk to HR to say it's not fair, she argues that they won't be able to change anything. She refuses to stand together with them and quickly leaves the room. Kitai says it's because she sees them as competition. They all notice that Dajang is the only one without a regular program. Later, things get better when Dajang is asked to be the MC of a pilot variety show. But Dajang feels discouraged when she sees the show's title, Couples in Crisis. Dukjin meets with Jiho to talk about some of his company's events. He says someone will bring some information from his house. When Daeyoung arrives, he and Jiho recognize each other. Jiho feels surprised to learn that this is the son who seems to hate him now. As Jiho is leaving, he is happy to see Dajang in the lobby with Aerin, but neither looks happy. So he sits nearby to wait. Aerin feels upset for Dajang about the offer to do a divorce show, but Dajang explains that if she doesn't take it, she might be the one cut after her probation. She asks Aerin to help her if she accepts the show. Jiho catches up to Dajang outside and says he came just to see her. After hearing her tell Aerin she hasn't eaten today, he invites her to dinner. He makes a big, dramatic show of being weak and hungry until she smiles and agrees. He takes her to a restaurant he goes to often, and the owner happily recognizes Dajang, making her smile again. He orders their food extra spicy, having also overheard that Dajang likes spicy food when she's stressed. The poor guy can't handle spicy food himself, but he does his best to pretend his cries of pain are just exclamations about how good the food is, and he convinces Dajang to share some. Before they leave, the owner asks for Dajang's autograph, the first one she's ever given. Jiho grabs his game glove from his car and asks her to sign it first so that her number 1 fan can have her first autograph, so she does, looking greatly cheered. Aiden tells Dayang about Dajang's offer to host a show about divorce and how she believes it's her last chance to be an anchor. Dayang says she should do it no matter the impact on their family, because he trusts her to take that into consideration. As he walks home, fireworks begin to explode above Dayang's head. It reminds him of when the twins were little, and the family had watched a fireworks show together. Dajang had been sad that the kids would eventually grow up and not want to do this anymore, but Dayang had said they'd have each other. Dajang had told him that she failed another anchor job interview, but that she was happy just to be at a TV station for a little bit. She'd been determined to keep trying, and wanted to show their children how she keeps pushing herself until she makes her dream come true. Dajang stood on the rooftop of their building, watching the night sky as the fireworks were about to start. Her phone buzzed, texts from Shia, Shivu, and even her mom, each saying they had plans tonight. She glanced up just as Dayang approached, holding some photos he had found of her from the festival days back when she was in school. He almost gave himself away when he said softly, almost wistfully, how pretty she had been back then. Quickly changing the subject, he showed her pictures of Shiv on his phone, then a video of Shivu playing basketball. Dajang sighed, lamenting that she should have gone to more of his games. Dayang reminded her gently that she was a working mom. She commented that he sounded older than he looked, and he joked back that he had an old soul. He told Dajang that when he sees her on TV, she looks cool and never makes mistakes, and that Shia and Shivu are rooting for her, too. He encouraged her to keep showing that side of herself on television. Then, just as the fireworks began, the moment shifted. Dajang sighed softly as she gazed up at the brilliant lights, while Dayang watched her silently, thinking, Dajanga, you are doing a great job. So don't worry. I'm sure you'll do a great job again. He raised a hand to touch her hair but hesitated, letting it hover for a moment before lowering it again. He told himself quietly that some things you only notice after you've lost them, like the smile of a loved one, or time spent with your family. When I had them, I didn't know how precious they were. Still lost in thought, he walked home. At a crosswalk, he stopped next to a little girl whose mother was standing across the street. The girl suddenly ran toward her mother but didn't see the van coming until it was only a few feet away. The mother screamed. Dayang raced forward, shielding the little girl with his body. He was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. As he was taken inside on a stretcher, we see him lying unconscious and now in his older look. Additional scene. When the kids were small, Dajang once found Dayang playing with them in the children's area at the mall. They had watched the twins for a while, and Dayang's expression darkened, a flicker of protectiveness flashing in his eyes, when a little boy gently took Shaha's hand and led her away to play. Then they heard the boy's mother call out his name. It was little Jasag. Dajang had already predicted that Dayang would throw a fit when Shia one day brings home her future husband. Dayang had grumbled something about breaking the boy's leg. If he's a good man, he'd said, he'll fix it. But if he's a bad man, he'll break the other leg.